it's kind of interesting. So this Thunderbolt, like we kind of see it's super technical and super high speed for your devices, but as we see with this Lenovo, their Legion glasses, this is also going to have a USB-C connector in it, and that's how it's going to get data transfer from the phone. Um, so it's kind of interesting in how pervasive USB-C already is, and how it's
Yeah.
literally on every device that's coming out from every manufacturer.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty big deal. But the Switch uses a USB-C as well. The Switch, I think everything before that used its own proprietary connection, but it seems like it's becoming fairly universal. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's I'm surprised it's blowing up so much. I mean, it is a good thing. I am glad. It'll be interesting to see if USB-C stays or if we get, because like remember the days of like the regular USB cord, and then they had mini USB for a lot of the printers, and they had micro USB for like the old PDAs and the old and actually I think mini USB was for the PDAs, and then micro USB was before USB-C. Do you think we'll have USB-C for a while, or do you think we'll end up getting like a micro USB-C?
Hello and welcome to the Vertical Bar Podcast. I'm your co-host, Your Name Here, joining you from Orlando, Florida, to dive into the latest innovations, tech trends, and just to talk about the tech industry at large with
Marcus, I am your other co-host. Together, we're on a mission to explore, share, and demystify the world of technology.
from our own company, Vertical Bar Media, to the wider tech universe. We're here to delve into all things digital. But enough about us. What's on the list for today?
Cool. Yeah. So it looks like this week in tech, you've got Intel's Thunderbolt 5 could be the cable upgrade we've all been waiting for. This was reported by Yahoo Finance. Good old Yahoo, one of the few players from the old days still in the game. um,
Yahoo's still
and
alive? Pretty sure
yeah, I
Yahoo's owned
always
by a
think
Chinese
that
company, though, right?
I actually don't know who they're owned by. I was trying to go back to figure it out because like everyone from back then pretty much died off after Google came out.
Yeah,
So
like
it's
where's
like
AOL?
yeah, it's like everyone got absorbed or bought out and like completely let go. So like Yahoo is one of the only players from back then that's still somehow relevant. I know they have all their applications and all their apps like all their emails and stuff like that, but
Yeah, I still have
I
emailed to
don't
them. They've been hacked so many times, though.
they have yeah, I don't know what they're doing to capture like new subscribers or the younger generation. I think they just have their same customer base from like 20 years ago. So somehow
Yeah,
they're alive. But I do know their finance division of their news site does put out some pretty good stuff. So they are a reputable source. I'll give them that.
very interesting.
So for the second topic, we have from TheVerge. They wrote an article about the Lightning port being great for what it was when it first debuted. I know Apple has officially moved over to USB-C for all of their devices. The iPhone 15 was announced, and the iPhone was the last device to go from Lightning to USB-C. I believe there may have some others left. I know the iPad Pros moved over, and some of the other. Yeah, I think the iPhone was the only one that was left. So that's officially over to USB-C now. They had their event on September the 12th. I think that was on Tuesday, where they announced the new iPhone 15 and the 15 Pro. So yeah, it was big in the news.
That's great. And then we got Lenovo's Micro-OLED Legion glasses, or the new wearable gaming displays. So this is in pretty much direct competition with there's a I know there's a few other like augmented reality glasses, or like I'm not sure what the actual technical term for it is, but it's that like
Yeah,
hybrid
it is. Yeah,
virtual reality where like the glasses are actually kind of blocked out. But it's just like a more sleek and stylish design. So that's kind of
right.
interesting. And then we also got to talk about Unity's suicide attempt this week. So
Yeah.
they introduced a new pricing structure, which the community did not like.
Mm.
So without forgetting to talk about or thank our AI overlords for scripting this intro, let's dive in.
Thank you,
What's going
Lords.
on with Intel's Thunderbolt port?
Yeah, so it looks like Thunderbolt 5 is a new connectivity standard, and it promises to be a significant upgrade over Thunderbolt 4, excuse me. I know there will be backwards compatibility. Apparently, it will be built on the USB 4 version 2 platform, so that means it will be able to, I guess, still use previous USB supported devices, but obviously only the newer devices that support Thunderbolt 5 will be able to use its new features. So it's supposed to be better at all the basically normal things that happens whenever you update the port or cable. It'll be able to transfer data a lot faster. It'll be able to support higher resolutions. It'll be able to connect better with um, external storage devices due to it being able to fast for at a
Yeah, so I've
faster.
actually used I've
Thanks for
actually
chiming
had
in.
to use Thunderbolt in a few situations
I
because
have not.
yeah, so what we used to do is we used to shoot on phase one cameras that shot with
Hmm.
QXC memory cards. And these are just
Okay.
high density, like 500 gig to 1 terabyte cards that take high resolution imagery. They were working on a camera that was taking 100 megapixel images
Damn.
on a medium format sensor. So files were huge. Each picture was
Right.
100 megabytes. So when
Jesus
we actually
Christ.
ended up having to capture the data at the end of the day, um, we needed we needed something way faster than what USB at the time 3 could offer. And
Hmm.
that's where Thunderbolt really came in. And what makes Thunderbolt unique from, like, let's say a standard like USB is that Thunderbolt is generally connected directly to the CPU, and the lanes
Interesting. I
of
didn't know that.
communication go from the CPU to where they need to go. So they either go directly to the GPU, they go directly to the storage or the memory, or any kind of add-on card that's connecting through Thunderbolt to
Hmm.
the CPU and the computer in a more general sense.
Hmm.
And that's just what is incredible about it. And it's gonna make some really amazing devices. But I just don't see industry adoption of it, right? Like I see USB-C and fast charging pick up because that's what people want. They want to be able to just
Right.
charge their phone in an hour. They want it to be done with. And like me, I don't charge my phone overnight anymore. I just at any point during the day charge it for an hour and I'm good until the next day,
Right.
like through the night usually. And if I do it just before I go to bed and I just put it on the charger while I'm like doing the dishes or something, it's charged and like I can have it almost a full battery in the morning. And I don't need to charge it
Basically,
overnight.
so what you're saying is that Thunderbolt is better for transferring large files faster and
Yeah,
handling
it's just a high
more,
data rate, right?
but it's not necessarily for power. So it wouldn't be able, its capabilities would never be able to match USB-C when it
Well,
comes
see,
to charging.
that is one of the interesting things because Thunderbolt ports generally share the same connector standard, which is
Right.
USB-C, which we've become familiar with, right? That's basically it goes any direction and it works very well, right? It's actually a pretty robust socket. Which kind of goes on to our next topic about the Lightning port, where the Lightning port was a more durable connector standard. Apple is
Right.
super proprietary for it, and like USB is an
At the
open
time.
standard,
Right.
anybody can use
Right.
it, right? And they can pay to have specifications and like meet a certain standard of USB, but they can also just have USB, which does make it kind of dangerous. In a sense that you kind of don't know what you're plugging your USB-C into, like at an airport or something, whether or not there's data jacking or power jacking or other kinds of things going on with it. But I think if Lightning Port was just as popular, those problems would be persistent for it as well.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
you actually want Lightning Port to stay, right?
I, I do want Lightning port to stay, and the only reason why is because I feel like when micro USB was the, I guess, main connection point for Android phones and a lot of the accessories, I feel like the invention of the Lightning port and it being able to flip on either side and still plug in and transfer data at a higher rate is what led us to USB-C. I feel like if Apple hadn't have had the innovation to create that new hardware within their closed off environment, then it would have been hard for the competitors. It would have been harder for them to come up with their own solution. So I don't know if we necessarily would have had USB-C and it'd be performing as well as it is now if Apple had never invented Lightning port. So like
That is
when this
actually a
next
very
phase
interesting. That is actually a very interesting point because originally USB was meant to be keyed so it couldn't be plugged in the wrong way, right? Like the
Right. Exactly.
conceptualization of like not being able to just generally plug it in the wrong way ever being possible or making that impossible didn't really come
Yeah.
into into that mindset until yeah, around that time. But it's kind of interesting because USB generally saw the feedback that like the USB consortium, which actually like develops the standard, right? They saw that people didn't like that it was keyed, even though that's what they wanted it to be. Like they wanted it to be a key connector, but mass adoption of
Right.
it made them change it. And that's kind of interesting. And like that's kind of happening with Apple too. Like the mass adoption of the USB-C standard is forcing Apple to kind of throw away this relatively cool connector. Although I will say that if you don't buy cables directly from Apple, they're just absolutely terrible. They're gonna fall apart after all.
Oh yeah, they're terrible. They
Yeah, and like
yeah. Well, the
that's what kind of sucks because
iPhone
like you just can't meet
is a
Apple's design
very
specifications
powerful device. So
outside.
yeah. Right. You're not classified as being certified unless you go through them to get through and pass their like very, very strict certification I guess process, which is the same thing that happens in their app store. They don't just let anybody put apps in their app store and be able to sell them and market them up underneath the Apple App Store, I guess, marketing. I know with Google, it's a lot easier to get your apps in the Play Store, but it's not like that with Apple. So they definitely, and I think they'd actually cost more to get your applications or apps in that store as well. I think you end up having to pay more to Apple than you have to if you were a developer for Google. It's like an process and it takes a long ass time. So
Yeah,
do you know that their cables are like that too? But I guess they lost this war. So if it was even a war, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, they definitely lost a little bit of ground here, but I think it's more important that we've won, right? Like we have a universal standard
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
connections,
If
right?
that's
And
what you
like
say.
well, I mean, that not just what I say, like that's what it is now. Like, I mean, I've
Yeah,
converted everything into my house to and my car to USB-C, and I have so many devices. Like,
yeah.
if I find a device now that I is charging with an older standard, like I have one charger in my room for that type of device. It's the older micro
Right.
USB one.
I think people should definitely have the option to do that, but if they would just choose the right devices and like make sure they buy everything and basically unify their own products. Like for me, like I like
Well,
gaming
no, I
laptops.
can't.
Gaming
We
laptops are
can't
never
rely
gonna
on Apple to
gaming
cater
laptops are never gonna
directly like we can't rely on any one company to directly cater to us, right? Like, I mean, I like Apple products, but Apple doesn't make the type of headset that I like. Like they make the in-ear buds,
yeah.
they're nice and they're great, but I really like those neckband ones that have the that come up to my ears, right? Like I like wearing those when I go to the gym. Apple doesn't make that. Apple has no desire to make that, and they're never gonna make that.
Yeah,
So
right.
it should, but I should still be able to charge that device the same as I would charge if I had an iPhone, right? But Apple's never going to
Or
make a
like if
device with
if
their
you have those
connector on
like
it. So like that's why it's
right,
like
exactly.
I mean I get it. Like I get that Apple has their cool connector, but there needs to be one standard. One standard to rule them all.
Yeah. So like I like gaming laptops and gaming laptops don't use USB chargers. So should we then like lobby to to like force companies into like adopting this for all types of devices or just like I don't
My
know where the line's
my
being
my
drawn.
laptop, actually both the laptops in their house, even Dan's MacBook over here is charging with my Steam Deck USB charger right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when Apple for the I think it was the MacBook from 2012, something like that. It wasn't the Pro yet, but it basically used USB-C and that's when dongles started to become popular again. So they definitely pushed USB-C pretty much before any of the other major tech companies. But I do think for their mobile products, I do think I don't know. I don't know if they ever really planned on transitioning fully. So I
Yeah.
do know
I'll tell
iPads
you,
are
it's
mostly,
really nice to have just the same charger everywhere around the house. Like no,
yeah,
no more do
that's
I have
totally
to have two
understandable.
separate cables for everything.
Do
I
we
love it.
know why they originally switched the iPad? Because I think the iPad Pro was the first Apple device that wasn't a laptop. That was using iOS and now iPad OS. Was that the first one to use USB-C? And if so, why did they choose the iPad before the iPhone? Is it because professionals
The
use the
processor
iPad
was
and they
better.
wanted them? What's up?
The processor was better and the
What do you mean?
because you'll see with this generation, right? It's not the regular iPhone
Yeah,
15 supports only USB 2.0 speeds because it uses last generation's processor, which
correct.
doesn't have the USB 3.0 logic
Oh,
built
so
into
you're
their
saying
SoC.
that the iPads had better processors and they actually could
Yeah, and they could support
sync up
USB-C
with the USB-C
because it's
technology.
it's taken
Gotcha.
Apple to
Make
actually
sure.
add
Gotcha.
that technology to their
To their
iPhones,
processor. I
right,
didn't
to their
realize that.
processors, right? And
I didn't know that. That's cool.
yeah. So I mean, I could see why it took a long time, but this was inevitable. They've already done it for everything else. It was a matter of them implementing it properly and
Mhm.
effectively on their iOS devices. And that's why we're seeing this now. Like we're seeing it, they were able to get the USB 2.0 with the USB standard, but now they got 3.0 and it's going to be in all their new
I
iPhone
hate
devices.
2.0. You know why I hate 2.0? Because whenever I buy a fucking Android phone that has a USB 2.0, desktop mode cannot be enabled. I guess it only supports
Yeah,
charging, but
2.0 does
it's
not support
desktop mode. It has to be a 3.2 or higher, right?
Um, yeah, I mean USB standard names are so terrible, but
They
yeah,
are.
USB
They keep
2.0
going
is
back and
like
forth.
basic file transfer, right? Like
Gotcha.
it's it's like if I need to transfer a video from my desktop to a flash drive or my phone or like something like that, like USB 2.0 speeds, it's gonna take a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
That's not capable of running a desktop, right? That's just like, yeah, it needs to
I
be a
think
lot,
all
there needs to be
Android
a lot
phones,
higher data rate.
I wonder how much more expensive that is. So is there a new processor also required to go from USB-C 2.0 to 3.2? Or is it just a matter of inserting a new port? Like, do you need extra compatibility for that? And if you don't know that, it's fine. I'm just curious. I haven't
Well, so
researched
yeah,
this
so it
myself.
basically USB, the consortium, actually publishes the standard for USB A, B, and C or whatever, like all the
A, B,
numbers,
and
all the
C.
letters of the alphabet. And you can choose to meet the standard in certain ways, right? Like I could have a USB 3.2 port that does parallel data communication, and then I can have USB transfers happening while I have DisplayPort happening on the
Hmm.
same cable, right? Because that's kind of what USB is trying to do with their USB-C connectors to have multi-lane
Right.
communication.
Right.
And I mean, when we talk about like a PCI lane in a computer, right? Like a graphics card might take 8 PCI lanes. That's
Hmm.
8 channels of communication with the CPU, and each one of those channels of communication have a bandwidth to them, right? Like they have a
Gotcha.
certain size that they can be. And so every time you add a channel of memory or a channel of communication, you increase these lanes and you get more communication. You're effectively doubling it every time you do it because it's just another connection to the CPU almost directly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now I
And
was
that's
asking
why
because
that's
like
why USB is so great and like
been going
it
on
just allows
for a
there's
long
just so
time.
much space on it to be able to do this to be able to do this parallel data transfer.
I guess going back to Thunderbolt, I remember when I used to work at the Apple store and they had Apple Thunderbolt displays. I don't know if they still had those, but because of that, dude, I always thought that Thunderbolt was an Apple technology, and only recently have like I've never had a point to use a Thunderbolt yet. I haven't gotten that far in my tech yet, so um, I know recently I had a 27-inch monitor that used USB-C, but I didn't need Thunderbolt for that. So
Yeah.
like do you know if those Apple Thunderbolt displays like do they connect via a Thunderbolt
Well, I mean, yes,
I guess port?
because Apple is traditionally used Intel for their processors, right?
Gotcha.
Right. So they would have licensed this technology of Thunderbolt from them.
Gotcha.
And that's probably actually the biggest user of Thunderbolt is Mac desktop.
Yeah.
And they use it a lot for like video transfer for video production and like intake. That's why those machines are so sought after, because they can do that. You can custom build a PC to do that, but it's a little bit harder and it requires more know-how and like how to actually do it.
Interesting. Cool. Well, I guess now I'm familiar with Thunderbolt. Like I said, I thought it
Yeah,
was an Apple
and
thing, but it's
that's
totally
why
not.
it's kind of weird, because Thunderbolt is kind of synonymous with USB-C, but Thunderbolt is an
Right.
Intel technology, so it's based on Intel CPUs. You won't generally see Thunderbolt implemented in AMD systems. However,
Gotcha.
Intel does make Thunderbolt independent chips that you can add on to other devices. And that's
That's
how
cool.
actually like you can get Blackmagic docks that
Are they
have
external?
USB Thunderbolt ports on them. I
Interesting.
mean, that's how you get devices that are Thunderbolt compatible, is the Thunderbolt chip on the other end.
So, like, are these like plug-in devices, or is it something that you can attach
I mean,
internally?
generally, yeah, like Thunderbolt, like we used to use a Blackmagic dock, and like
Mm-hmm.
it just has 4 bays in it, and those 4 bays can be SSDs, they can be like micro SD adapters or like QXC card adapters or something like this. And then you can get full bandwidth transfer out of those cards and SSDs, like 80 gigabytes, 120 gigabytes, like boom. You're downloading like 4K movies in seconds kind of stuff.
I think they should bring back docks for laptops. I think they should put like external GPUs in docks so we could turn like our regular laptops into like gaming laptops. That would be
Well,
awesome.
they
I'm kind of
do. I
pissed off
mean,
at dock stuff.
so that's kind of been the transfer, right? They
Asus
don't.
has something like that,
Yeah,
don't
they
they?
have that little like
Some,
but it's like a proprietary USB-C connector
yeah,
that
it's
you
like
plug
two
in,
grand
and
too
it
for like,
like turns your graphics card into a 3080 or something.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, the best one is like 2 grand. It's like fuck, you might as well just buy a fucking desktop computer with that.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
pretty expensive, but the
speaking of
idea
this
is
like
cool though.
Thunderbolts, it's kind of interesting. So this Thunderbolt, like we kind of see it's super technical and super high speed for your devices, but as we see with this Lenovo, their Legion glasses, this is also going to have a USB-C connector in it, and that's how it's going to get data transfer from the phone. Um, so it's kind of interesting in how pervasive USB-C already is, and how it's
Yeah.
literally on every device that's coming out from every manufacturer.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty big deal. But this the Switch uses a USB-C as well. The Switch, I think everything before that used its own proprietary connection, but it seems like it's becoming fairly universal. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's I'm surprised it's blowing up so much. I mean, it is a good thing. I am glad. It'll be interesting to see if USB-C stays or if we get, because like remember the days of like the regular USB cord, and then they had mini USB for a lot of the printers, and they had micro USB for like the old PDAs and the old and actually I think mini USB was for the PDAs, and then micro USB was before USB-C. Do you think we'll have USB-C for a while, or do you think we'll end up getting like a micro USB-C sometime soon?
I don't know. I've seen USB-C on some of the smallest devices. Yeah. I mean, like I have a flight controller for a drone that is 35 millimeters by 35 millimeters. And it goes into a stack when there's like three on top of each other, and it's just a USB-C on the side is how you like get up, how you plug into it and program it.
So
Um,
so there's three USB ports on it that are together, and you plug them all in at the same time, and they
no,
can feed
there's
off each
just
other.
there's one on
Oh, okay.
the central flight controller, but there's like a video transmitter on the top, and those all need like their own like independent wires. But the USB-C one is for like connecting to the flight controller and programming that. And that's a tiny device. Like I can't think of anything smaller than
Yeah.
that. Like anything smaller than that, like just have it induction charged, because the battery can't be that big, right?
Jesus. Yeah, right.
But speaking of big batteries, I have a Jackery, like off the
A
grid battery kind of
Jackery.
thing, and it has like AC sockets on it, and it also has like USB and USB-C on it. I charge that thing. It's 300 watts. I charge it with a USB-C charger,
Damn.
and it takes like 3 hours.
I was gonna ask you, how long does it take?
And that's how long it takes if I bring out the brick and like charge it with the brick that came with it. But like I have a USB-C charger for my bed. I can just plug it in next to the bed like during the day and it's charged up. And it's funny because we use that on our dining room tables so we don't have to like so we can use our laptops there because all of our laptops are USB-C. And like that's why it's just so incredible to me that USB-C is awesome. Like it's
Yeah.
so ubiquitous right now. Like I'm switching everything to USB-C. I love
It
this.
is cool being able to charge it. Okay, so I will admit, it's cool being able to charge my laptop, my phone, and my tablet all with the same cable. It's very cool.
Yeah. And
It
you can even
is.
charge those devices between each other, usually. Like you just plug them into each other and they'll just kind of like level out power levels.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. So I could just plug them up together and then plug up like I could I could get like a little
Yeah, like
USB
if your
dongle
phone's at
and like
5% and your tablet's full, you just plug them into each other and your phone will charge.
fuck. I never even thought to do that. Does it automatically
That's
recognize
why
that
that's why it's so great that they're on both ends. Like that's kind of
yeah.
the disconnect between like why the lightning cable isn't that great because it's not on both ends. The USB-C is on both ends and like the possibilities for plugging stuff into things is just incredible. Like the same thing that I use my laptop for, like the connector that I use that, like the hub, I can plug into my
Mhm.
phone and do the same thing. I can plug that into the HoloLens because that has USB-C. And
Yeah.
like I can just have like an HDMI out from there. And like that has regular USB and I can do other USB things like older stuff with it. It's a nice standard. I really like it.
Cool. So I know you mentioned the Lenovo Legion glasses, and also I know Lenovo had a handheld that was recently announced. I'm not sure if it launched yet, but I think it's called the Lenovo Legion Go. It's supposed to compete with the Asus Ally handheld and the Steam Deck. And the reviews for the Lenovo gaming, sorry, the Lenovo Legion Go has been really good. So for Lenovo to announce these glasses, like no one else has announced glasses since fucking Google Glass back in like what 2012 or whatever. So like this is kind of an odd thing for them to announce. I don't know how to
I know.
identify these.
I actually disagree with that because Lenovo has already released glasses.
Oh, they
They
did. I didn't
released
know that.
Think Reality A3s. I'm
Think
trying to
reality.
look up what year they did, but I've seen X-Real glasses. They've produced a few. I know that LTT has done videos on them.
Cool.
Yeah, the X-Real Airs, those are AR glasses, same kind of
Fuck
tech.
yeah. What would you use those for? Like, who did they announce? Like, it's just it can't be like a HoloLens competitor. So like, what kind of?
No. I mean, that's just kind of like, it's hard to say it's hard to recognize this, but some of these
Yeah,
companies are just like grinders because
there's like throwing stuff out there and see like what
yeah, like
sticks.
money, deep tech money, like that wants
Hmm.
innovations, that wants things to get cheaper and like wants things to get more accessible. So you have to like pay money to just kind of like advance the tech, right? Like that's what most of these companies are. Like they're just funded to do research and like get through all the hard parts so that everybody else can start making their own. And I think that now that Lenovo is making a pair of like gamer glasses,
Yeah,
um,
they're doing a lot of gaming stuff recently.
I think we're starting to see kind of the break point for this. I mean, with Apple announcing
Vision
uh
Pro.
their Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Um, and I recently just saw an article on the HoloLens new deployment for the military is doing great.
Oh, good. I remember when we discussed that last time, and I had no idea what was going on. But I'm glad that things are going better. That that's good. So it seems like they fixed some of the problems they were having, where people were throwing up.
Yeah, I mean it's about just tuning it, making it
Yeah.
faster and making it more adapting it.
Adapting it to
Yeah,
war. Well, I'm
so
glad that our soldiers are no longer going to be sick when I'm just joking, but I'm glad they got that fixed. Glad they got that resolved. I'll have to look into that more to see like what some of the updates have been.
yeah, so this is interesting from Windows Central. I love that this website still
I
exists.
love Windows Central. They're
Yeah.
amazing. I love them. They have a podcast out too on YouTube. I'm thinking about listening to it sometime soon, but yeah, I
Oh,
definitely
nice.
like them
I'll have to
too.
get on that. It
Yeah.
says the HoloLens for the US military isn't dead thanks to the new phase approval. So it's been greenlit to do version 1.2. Um and let's see. It's going to be doing cloud computing, so these are all like um IoT devices, like internet connected devices. Um
Connectivity. Sorry.
yeah.
Cool. Do
Yeah, I'm
you
trying
think
to
the
see if there's
HoloLens will
anything else
ever
for it.
be do you think the HoloLens will ever be released as a consumer device, or do you think it's going to stay tailored towards businesses and construction and all that stuff? Do you think it'll ever be used for gaming?
Yes. I don't know. It's a really weird thing, right? Because like I mean, how do you game, right? Like do you do you have the time to really get into a virtual world?
I want to. At this current time, I do not, but I'm slowly getting back into gaming, and I swear by the time I'm ready, I really hope VR is where I think it's going to be at. Probably in about like a year, I would say. I'm gonna be ready to go all in on VR. Seriously, I'm gonna be ready.
Yeah. I mean,
I want
but
to
for most people, that's I don't
like
think that's an attainable goal.
like Ready
Um,
Player One style. Like I want to be able to like play an MMO, make my avatar, make my character, like basically start out like an MMO, like Baldur's Gate or Final Fantasy 14, where I'm making my outfit, I'm designing my ears and all that kind of stuff, and I literally want to just like go do quests with other people, and like we are literally acting out all of it. Obviously, running and walking will be a little bit of a challenge if you're just wearing a headset, but if it's automatically moving and you can like steer it in a certain direction and you have to do all the movements for all of the like spells and all of the like all the casting and all of the like so like I want to be able to do all that stuff for like all of the classes and all of the roles for MMOs. So I'm hoping a year. Obviously I have wishful thinking issues sometimes, so maybe not. We'll see.
yeah, so I don't think that's obtainable for most people.
Damn it.
I mean, but hey, with what's the price of these Legion glasses? Not in
Oh,
euros.
so they're 149 100 sorry, that's wrong. They're $499. Fuck. They're 499 euros. But obviously converted over to USD, it comes out to be $532 and some change. So I know the PlayStation Portal was recently announced for 200. So these are supposed to link with the Legion Gaming Go. So I don't know what the price of that is. I don't have my computer on me right now. I'm just sort of doing this willy nilly, and I'm like, I think each I think the Legion Gaming Go might be about like $600, and then now you have to spend another 500 if you want to link this up. So they're
Yeah.
more expensive than I thought they would be, but
Yeah, so that's
we'll
kind of
see.
where it's at right now. Like uh think about you buying a computer, right? Like what kind of laptop could you get for 500 euros or a little over 500
Exactly,
US dollars? What kind of desktop could you
exactly,
get for that? And
right,
like essentially this it would be only like the monitor. This wouldn't be like, I mean, it says it's equipped with built-in speakers and microphone, but
right.
it's not. It's powered through the USB-C cable through the device, like PC, smartphone, tablet, something like this. So essentially, it's
Yeah,
a $500 monitor
right.
that's effectively tethered to your
The
phone,
portable gaming
right?
device. Well, no,
Yeah.
it's going to be hooked up to the Legion Gaming Go. So it's going to be
Yeah,
that's a
or
window.
potentially
Yeah,
Steam Deck or anything like
right.
that.
Yeah. So like, but imagine being able to play your Steam Deck and then you have like the display in your eyes. Like that would be kind of cool.
You gotta
Like
get
I
down
never
here to
really,
Florida, man, and check out the HoloLens and
I
really
do, I
rock your
do.
world.
Hey, it's definitely gonna happen over the next couple of months. Seriously, hopefully
Yeah.
before the end of the year. But if things go well, it'll be this fall/winter for sure. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that can happen because I need this next step for computing. I've explored desktop and laptop and mobile OSs for so long now. I really want to see what the next step is. So I know you got the HoloLens, and I swear when you put that thing on my head, I'm not going to be able to take it off. So I hope you know what kind of door you're opening because I'm definitely going to get hooked on it. Seriously.
Yeah. It's an incredible device. And I think the potential is incredible, but I think the practicality is still right? Like,
Yeah.
I
It
have a
takes a long
desktop
time
here
for
with
these
multiple
things to pop
monitors, and
off.
like all I have to do is just press a button and this turns on and it's all connected. Every time you have to charge a device like that, it's like, but that it does kind of open it up the interesting prospect that it's just like something that plugs into a desktop that you sit at a table at, and then you have like all your monitors up in front of you. But
Hmm.
that tech is not necessarily new. I just think it might be the lowest price tech right now. I was looking at some of these other glasses, how much they're costing.
Which ones are you looking up?
Um, well, I looked at, I just binged something and it gave me an
Oh,
article.
good old Bing AI
Yeah,
chat.
binged it. Yeah,
I'm so glad
so
Bing's back.
Lenovo has another pair of headsets, another headset that is $1,500. Um, the
Damn.
HoloLens is $3,500.
Gotcha.
Uh,
I wonder if
there
there's
was
actually
another.
teams of work. Like I wonder if there's any like businesses out there that have teams of employees that
Oh,
actually use this
actually,
stuff for fun.
yes, there is. There's a whole slew of companies that use HoloLens. One of them, I believe, is Xerox. And what they did was they eliminated their service tech position, but they didn't really eliminate like the position. They just eliminated like sending techs out to do stuff. And what they did was
Hmm.
they brought all their techs in, they made them like write a bunch of like lessons on like how to repair machines.
Hmm.
Then they recorded it in mixed reality um, for use on the HoloLenses. And now every time you buy like this huge, massive Xerox printer, and I'm not talking one that's in like a copy printer somewhere, I'm talking one that's printing like 100,000 magazine cover kind of quality prints, right? Like that kind of printer, ones that like sit in a room, ones that like if they're not working, the company is actively losing a lot of money. Like they need to be working quickly. So now those types of printers are shipped with a HoloLens, and it's just whoever is on site working that machine, a light beeps, and like they get the HoloLens and they put it on, and the HoloLens literally guides them through repairing that machinery.
That's so cool.
And it's
That's
so
how it
simple that
should
like
be.
somebody like the technician can be unconscious on the floor and like the machine's doing crazy things and like somebody can just come in and like put that headset on and like do the work. And there's actually speaking on that topic, there's other companies that do that kind of technology with a headset. Like they'll include it with the IED, the defibrillator device,
Hmm.
for if somebody goes into cardiac arrest, like you can, revive them or whatever. They'll include a
You can save
HoloLens
their
that like
life.
includes the procedures on how to do it, and like it'll actually like show you a model on that person and like take off their shirt, where to place the pads, and like
Ooh, sorry.
I mean, that's obviously very expensive, right? But
Yeah.
it's very useful in companies that would pay for that kind of technology.
Yeah, it's interesting thinking about it like that because like I feel like when it comes to technology like that that hasn't really become very, very popular, eventually someone is going to find a use for it. So it's like we were talking about earlier, how they just sort of release things and then see what sticks. Word doesn't always get back to consumers that things are actually working out on the other end. I know for the HoloLens, it really hasn't been in the news that much for normal consumers. Like I haven't seen it gone through the news cycle at all in the past couple of years. So, but it's good that you know that it is still something that's viable and it is something that works. So I remember when Microsoft announced it, and I just feel like people may not know that it's still alive. So it's just I'm
Yeah.
glad there is a use for it. I'm glad it's working out somewhere because I have this vision for the future, for what I think tech is going to do in the next 5, 10, 20 years. And sometimes I think maybe I'm being a little bit too imaginative. Like maybe I'm thinking too much about like sci-fi movies, but some of the stuff is leading us there. And like you were saying, how during COVID over in China, everything was basically like NFC'd. All their IDs were on their phones. They could basically like pay wherever they wanted to, and everything was accessible. Like everything was very futuristic, and we're still behind. And I hope eventually we can get to a point where everybody trusts technology enough to basically like get us there.
Yeah.
That
I will
sounded
tell
kind
you
of
that,
surfboarderish, but you know what
that
I mean.
that kind of like dystopian stuff was still well and alive there. Like, it's strange because like at any point in time you had this device in your pocket, right? And it had like a green screen on it. At any point in time that could just turn red, right? Like you came in contact with somebody, or you were at a place that somebody came in contact with somebody, right? And like it just turned red, and then now you had to stay in, like you couldn't do anything essentially. Like you couldn't go to the store to buy food, right? You couldn't order
We're
stuff when
trapped.
you could only order. Yeah, and like you literally had,
Cut.
because like they'd have people outside of apartment buildings like scanning their codes and making sure that they could leave, kind of thing. Like that shit got real dystopian real fast.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
it's
Yeah,
a very
there.
fine
Yeah.
line to walk, honestly.
I guess I never think about stuff like that whenever I'm thinking about the future, but that literally happened in reality, so I should take it into consideration. I just
Hmm.
don't want to get
No,
old
I
and
mean, I
everyone's
think,
still doing the same thing. I want us to move far, far ahead. I think we can achieve sci-fi movie possibilities in our lifetime, and I don't want the next generation to get it. I want us to get it. God damn it!
yeah, we have to disincentivize greed, though. I mean,
You said
it's too
what?
incentivized.
What
Literally
tech?
everything. No, greed, just in general.
Oh,
Like,
greed. Oh, yeah.
yeah, like how much resources can I hold myself?
Exactly. Right. No, exactly.
You know?
Hey, so speaking of greed, let's go into this Unity. Um,
Nice
in
segue.
yeah, seems like Unity's getting pretty greedy. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so for a little bit of a basis, Unity is an engine developer. Essentially, they make the platform on which games are built on. So that's where you wouldn't necessarily make your assets there. Like you're not going to really make like characters and things. This is the place where you'd animate characters and like set them in motion and like put them in a setting with other objects. Um, they had a pretty thriving marketplace of tools that people could use to develop their games. But for the most part, they have been known for being uh, free, essentially. They did have ways that it's kind of a terrible position to be in for a company, right? For the last 3 quarters, this company has been losing money. They've been trying to switch to do mobile ad revenue, but that's being blocked in a lot of countries with new legislation and like advertising to minors and all this kind of stuff. So it's a very volatile market. It's not been very kind to Unity. And now Unity wants to alter the deal. Essentially, a lot of companies that have been developing Unity games are now going to be hit with a fee effective January 1st next year, 2024.
No
And
telling.
this is per Unity's post. This is going to charge essentially 20 cents per install after $200,000 in annual revenue and 200,000 installs. Both of those conditions have to be met. And pro and enterprise tiers will face lower fees and possible volume discounts. Um, and they're this will be applied to most of the United States, the UK, and Australia, and there's a emerging market rate for other regions. However, communication from Unity has been very hit and miss. Um, and it's just wild. I know you're kind of new on this topic. Do you have any thoughts
I
on
am,
this?
yeah. Yeah, so I want to know like who's getting charged for this? Is it just the consumers or is it
Well,
like
so
the
this is the crazy
developers
thing.
or
I
like
think I think Unity shot
who's paying
themselves.
this money? Sorry.
I think Unity was already like up on the chair with a rope around their neck, and then they turned around and they shot themselves in the foot because during this whole fiasco, they said, okay, well, installs are going to be charged to the distributor, right? So like Xbox Game Pass, right? That's the distributor of the game. Um, and they're going to make sure that Michael and or Microsoft and Apple and Google are going to fit the bill for this. And they don't they're not going to do that. That fee is going to be directly passed on to every developer, 100%. Regardless of any company virtuoso, like anytime a fee is instituted anywhere in the chain, it always gets hit at the lowest point every single
Yeah,
time. We pay a
exactly.
tax every time we buy something at every store.
So it
We're
looks
the
like
ones
back in
paying
20
that tax. It's not the company that's paying it out of the kindness of their
exactly.
heart.
They always
They
push it
charge
on the people
extra,
who are
and they make sure that we
actually
know that
right,
they charge extra, right? Their price is
right.
$4.99, but hey, you also have 7% tax at the register.
Exactly. We're going to start charging, we're going to start membership fees and all this stuff. And we're going to start upping the price insurance. I know insurance for cell phones used to be a lot cheaper. It used to be like $7 a month. I think
Yeah.
now Verizon has like their insurance for their phones are like $17 a month. And I think they're higher now. I think they're like $20 a month. They
Oh
keep
yeah.
going up.
Yeah.
And it's insane. It's funny because the prices of now we have mid-range devices, there used to not be a mid-range market. So technically people I believe are spending less on phones than they used to, even though the high-end phones have gone up in price. Not everybody
Oh, I
has a
mean,
high-end phone.
I think the median price in India is like $150 for phones.
For phones. Damn.
Yeah. The median price. So like the literal average of what people are paying is $150.
Dude, so it looks like for this Unity thing back in 2015, the CEO, I don't know how to say his last name, but his first name was John. So it looks like back in 2015, he emphasized the company's dedication to not nickel and diming their developers. And then now, what,
Yeah. Well,
8 years later?
this is
So what
actually
happened with their money?
this is
Have they
this is
been like,
absolutely wild, right? So there's a whole slew of allegations that are coming out of this, and we're not going to see the end of this for a while. But apparently, the same CEO that said he doesn't want to nickel and dime as their developers sold a bunch of stock before this whole thing went live. This whole pricing
that
structure went out
motherfucker?
to the world.
That's such a
And
typical
not only
story.
on top of this, but they deleted a section from their terms of service that would have exempted companies from paying like before January 1st, like having to like back pay that, right? They deleted that, and then they deleted the change log that shows that they changed that.
Are
So
you
like
serious? That's
this
some
is an
shady ass
absolute
shit.
yeah, this is an absolute clusterfuck.
That's kind of funny, but not really. Like it's funny
Yeah.
that they were actually caught doing some really like some like old ass like pump and dump type stock situation, and then they like I don't know. It's just weird. That's something you would see in a movie from like the 1990s. That's some Enron shit.
Right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the company had been going through layoffs all through COVID, and they've had layoffs more recently with the in line with the tech and Google ones. So they've kind of gone unnoticed, but now that the company has been unprofitable for almost a year,
You know,
um, yeah, it's kind of
is it a good
every
engine? Like, can they not just sell to more? Like, are they fucking up the development process of their engine? Like, is it just not as good, or like, is this
No, I
just
mean
bad
the tool
executive
is
decisions?
absolutely great to use, and there are a ton of developers. But so it's just it's just so crazy on how many levels this is affecting Unity, right? Like this isn't just Unity making a bad decision and then like kind of doing a bad job of walking it back. Unity made unequivocally the wrong decision, right? Like not a bad decision. They made the absolute wrong decision and they're choosing to stick with it. Which I want to emphasize what I mean by the wrong decision. That not the wrong decision is in they're charging more money for their product. They made the wrong decision of altering the terms of their agreement with developers. And the game developers, they spend years working on stuff, right? There could be things that are literally about to go live on like December 31st, 2023. And then the day after it goes live, there's now going to be a per install fee for their game. Like that wasn't considered in any of the previous 5 years of budgets that the game had, or this wasn't considered at all in like the revenue structure of the game or anything. And like that sucks for a company. It's like, okay, well now let's say the company was selling their game for $1. They're charging 20 cents to Unity now for every install. And now they've released their game on Steam, which includes a 30% market fee, right? They probably negotiated it down. Let's say it's 20%. So it's 20 and 20. So the 40 cents from every game is just going to Unity and Steam.
All right. Now we got our 2-minute warning. I guess we can talk about the company stuff.
Yeah, cool.
If that's okay with you, of course.
Yeah, so how about you say this? Yeah, so with that, let's talk about how our company's doing.
Okay. I'm tired. I'm sorry. All right. So yeah, with that, let's talk about how our company is currently doing. Why we do this, or I guess how we're doing this. Let's go with that.
I mean, yeah, just you got anything to mention?
Yeah, so I think a TikTok has now been made. A TikTok has now been made. I don't know if I mentioned that last week or not, but I know with the things that you have going on and things that we plan on uploading to YouTube and things like that, and some of our video projects.
Yeah,
TikTok
have you seen any information on TikTok shopping?
No, not yet. I have not at all.
You should do a lot of research on that and like how we can get started on that. I literally have a garage full of stuff that we could do like a QVC style show. I have all the equipment to do like cameras, live cameras. Yeah.
Dude, that would be so much fun.
Well, that's what my wife does already. Like she does that, but in China, and like we can do it on TikTok here also.
Hell yeah. That would be really cool. That would
be like that maybe number one priority next week. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a long week for me, a rough week, but everything. Yeah, but like everything's been going well, and I'm excited for what is gonna. I know I always say that, but yeah, I would definitely spend some time on that for the next week. Sounds good. Okay. I didn't even know TikTok had a marketplace or a shopping style place. That's why I'm like,
it's new. I just saw something about it. I think it's to compete with Timo, and I also saw that Amazon was doing like a live shopping thing.
Dude, so I do know Amazon added like a Tik style social media function, to their app. And I remember when it was announced, I forgot which. I think when I was writing for No Techie, I think that we covered this story, but it's like the most random thing ever that Amazon would add. Like Amazon doesn't do social media, but I haven't looked into it yet. But there is a dedicated part on their Android Amazon app for like TikTok style shopping. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you this
like
much.
Whenever TikTok launches something, people compete with it.
We've been doing this business for about 5 years, and it is an absolute wild marketplace. It is completely international. It's like completely decentralized.
Nice.
It's absolutely wild. I fear that Amazon's getting into it is going to kind of muddy the waters a little bit. But I don't really see much around it because like, so let's say we hosted a live stream, right? Like, what are we going to do it on? We're going to do it on YouTube. Okay, but they don't really have the functionality built in to like do shopping and selling, right? Like we essentially have to like put up a link and like then like through OBS or something, and then they'd have to like either type in that link or We can edit the description, maybe make comments in the video for links. Like, but it gets it's like you're not really fixing the problem. You're just trying to find a solution that makes it easier for you. Um, I hope that some of these platforms do offer something, but it seems kind of weird what they are offering. It seems like they're offering the chance for people to sell goods, but they don't actually have to like purchase the goods. The goods are already held by either the manufacturers or maybe another third party. So that's where I'm interested, is whether or not we can hold our own inventory, or if inventory needs to be held somewhere else, or how like order
Gotcha.
fulfillment works and stuff.
So
But
at
that's
this
a lot to talk
point,
about.
yeah,
Let's
we would
like
like
see
partner
if
with
we
those
can even sign up
companies.
for it first.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'll definitely look at that. That sounds cool. So at that point, like it would be sort of like affiliate marketing where like we basically like talk about these products,
Yeah.
not necessarily a review, but like you say, just go over some of the features. Like if people
Yeah,
buy
so
them, then we
what
get
my
like a
wife
small
does
cut from the
like all
company.
the time is she sells like jackets and handbags and stuff, and she's just talking
Hmm.
about the materials and like how good it looks and how it feels and stuff. And then
Cool.
reacting to the community, because there's also live chat features and stuff. So you can interact with the community and do like events. So like any kind of like the live stuff that happens out in the live worlds, like OnlyFans.
Right.
Or like, on Twitch you can send Twitch bits, or on YouTube you can send super chats and stuff. And like I know LTT has found a way to capture super chats outside of Google with their merch messages. And that's a really cool and interesting platform that they've actually made.
Cool. Yeah, no, I did that. That sounds cool. It seems like when TikTok comes out with stuff, people try to compete with them a lot. I know YouTube had those shorts or whatever, the reels or whatever the fucking that didn't go well. I think they end up taking that down, or they're going to. So it's interesting that like TikTok is about to like reinvent like shopping for. Like I said, it's already happening internationally, but I didn't know that that was a thing here in the U.S.
I hope it becomes a better thing here in the
That would
US.
be nice. Yeah, that would be lots of good money. And also, you're already familiar with how it works, so that would tie into vertical bar media pretty beautifully.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
So
tech stuff out there that needs to be sold.
how's our channels doing?
Things are going well. We're almost at 100 followers on Facebook. I know on Twitter we're almost at 300, I believe, and some of the other ones are doing about the same as last week. I didn't get to promote as much this week due to my schedule, so it was kind of the same as last week. But I'm gonna get that ball rolling again as of tomorrow. So, we finally got asked a question on Facebook. A guy was locked out of his OneDrive account whenever we posted the OneDrive article about the new AI enhancements, and it was cool that I got to like direct him over to some Microsoft support articles on their site. So it's cool because people don't know that Microsoft and places like Google have everything already explained on their websites, but people don't know how to navigate that stuff. So it
Yeah,
was fun
somebody's
being
asked the
able.
question that you're asking already, because
Yeah,
otherwise we'd be
exactly.
a
No,
super
literally, it's
scientist.
already happened. It's already been explained. It's already been discussed. Most likely on the official website for the product that you literally have yourself. So it was cool being able to direct him over to where he needed to go because it's confusing for a lot of people out there. So
Yeah.
we got to help out. We got to help
That
someone recover his files.
that is awesome.
It is cool because that's our goal is to make this stuff easy and fun and swift and not required, but like functional for people. So it all starts at the bottom. But yeah, so I actually do have to go. I have to cut it a couple minutes early, or I guess like a minute early. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. Sorry.
All right, sounds good.
Let me go back to the page. Hold on, sorry.
All right, well, that's all the time we have here. Fuck. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today on the Vertical Bar Podcast. As always, it's been a blast exploring technology with all of you.
Indeed, it has, Jared. And remember, folks, if you want to learn more about the topics we discussed, check out the description with links to our social media profiles and channels. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast for more tech adventures.
Absolutely, Marcus. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure to reach out with your questions, ideas, or just to say hi. We're on all social media platforms as Vertical Bar Media.
Yes, we are, Jared. Thank you for that. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, the only constant in technology is change.